Google built a machine that is 13,000 times faster than anything on Earth.
Google's Willow chip is touted as not just another technology breakthrough, but an evolution in the way we solve some of the world's toughest challenges.
But that is not even the wildest part. Their new Willow chip proved that quantum errors can be stopped, opening a door that was supposed to stay locked forever.
The idea is that Willow might be communicating with parallel universes to finish calculations faster.
Basically, this chip did the impossible by getting better as it got more complex. But get this, the crazy part is that the people who built it think it works because it exists in many universes at once. A lot of people are confused about why this matters, but it changes everything we know about being human. New era of computing begins. See, the biggest problem with quantum computers was that they were too messy. If you added more parts to them, they would just break down and make mistakes. It was like trying to build a tower of cards in the middle of a windstorm. The bigger you made the tower, the faster it would fall over. But Willow changed that. It features 105 qubits, which are the tiny building blocks of quantum power. Instead of getting noisier as it grew, Willow actually got more stable. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of the whole story. Researchers used a special method called the surface code to fix errors in real time. They tested this by building grids of qubits in different sizes, like 3x3, 5x5, and 7x7. In every other machine ever built, the 7x7 grid would have more errors because it is bigger. But with Willow, the error rates dropped as the system got larger. This is a huge deal because it confirms a theory called the threshold theorem. Basically, it means that if we can get the errors low enough, we can build quantum computers as big as we want. This is a key detail because it proves that we are not just playing with toys anymore. We are building machines that can actually work. The tech behind Willow is truly mind-blowing. These chips have to stay at temperatures that are near absolute zero. We are talking about places that are colder than deep space. They sit inside huge machines called dilution refrigerators that use special liquids to keep the circuits frozen. At these temperatures, the metal in the chip becomes a superconductor. This means electricity can flow through it without any resistance at all. In this state, the circuits start to act like artificial atoms. They can exist in two states at once, which is what gives quantum computers their edge. Everyone is obsessed with the speed. But the real victory here is the control. Google managed to keep these 105 qubits in sync long enough to do things no other machine has ever done. But here is the catch. Shortly after these results were published in major journals like Nature, the hype started to turn into mystery. While the public was celebrating the breakthrough, some people noticed that the flow of information started to slow down. There were whispers that Google had to reel things in because the results were getting too strange. It is not that simple, though. As many scientists say, they are just being careful with the data. Still, the idea that a chip could be so powerful that it scares its own creators is a narrative that has taken over the internet. Hands down, the most interesting part of Willow is not just the hardware, but what the hardware revealed about our world. What most people do not realize is that Willow was performing tasks that are literally beyond human timescales. It was not just doing math faster, it was doing math that should not be possible to finish. When you have a machine that can look at every possible answer to a problem at the exact same time, you are no longer playing by the rules of our universe. This chip was able to simulate how atoms interact and how molecules are shaped with a precision that makes supercomputers look like abacuses. One of the most important things they did was show that these results can be verified by other labs. This means it was not a fluke or a mistake. It was a real, solid leap into a new reality. Many are not seeing the truth here because they are focused on the business side of things. Yes, Google wants to win the tech race, but this is bigger than money. This is about whether our current laws of physics are actually correct. If Willow can do what it claims, then the way we think about matter and energy has to change. The chip revealed that the quantum world is much more organized than we gave it credit for. It showed that we can tame the chaos of subatomic particles and force them to do our bidding. And get this. The crazy part is that the more they looked into the data, the more it seemed like the chip was pulling its answers from somewhere else. But this success led to a claim that sounds like pure science fiction. Quantum echoes power. To prove that Willow was truly superior, Google developed a new test called the quantum echoes algorithm. This is not your average math problem. It involves a process where quantum information is scrambled across a whole bunch of entangled qubits. Think of it like taking a perfectly ordered deck of cards and throwing them into a hurricane. In a normal world, you could never get those cards back into the right order just by waiting. But with Willow, they were able to introduce a tiny change, called a butterfly perturbation, and then unscramble the information back to its original state. This allowed them to measure how information spreads through a quantum system. The results of this test were staggering. In one specific benchmark, Willow finished a task in under 5 minutes. If you tried to run that same task on the world's fastest classical supercomputer, it would take 10 septillion years. To put that in perspective, the universe is only about 14 billion years old. That means you would need to wait for the entire life of the universe to pass millions of times over before the supercomputer gave you an answer. Willow did it in the time it takes to brew a cup of coffee. This is a wow factor that most people can barely imagine. It is not just a little bit faster. It is 13,000 times faster than the best machines we have ever built. The reason this matters so much is because of verifiability. In the past, Google made claims about quantum supremacy that some people doubted. They said the problems were too specific, or that they were rigged to make the quantum chip look good. But the quantum echoes algorithm is different. It is a protocol that can be checked by other scientists using different hardware. It provides a clear way to see that the quantum machine is doing something that a classical machine simply cannot do. This is a key detail because it silences the skeptics who thought quantum computing was all hype. It proves that the era of quantum advantage is officially here. What most people do not realize is how this changes the future of medicine and materials. Because Willow can simulate how atoms touch and bond, it can help us create new drugs without ever having to test them in a physical lab first. We could find a cure for diseases or create batteries that last for weeks just by letting a chip like Willow run the math. It can look at millions of chemical combinations in seconds. This is the deal. We have been limited by the speed of our computers for decades, and Willow just smashed that ceiling. A lot of people are confused about why we are not using this to fix the world today. But the truth is that scaling this tech is still incredibly hard. Even though Willow is a masterpiece, it is still very delicate. If a single stray photon or a tiny bit of heat touches the chip, the whole calculation falls apart. This is why the error correction they found is so vital. By dropping the error rate to around 99.97% for some operations, they made the chip reliable enough to trust the answers it gives. There are still many rumors in the air about what happened next, though. Some say that as they pushed the quantum echoes algorithm further, the machine started giving answers that were too accurate. They were so accurate that they seemed to predict things that had not happened yet. Nobody expected this to happen. But the more the team ran these tests, the more the data started to point toward a very strange conclusion. The machine was calculating things that would require more energy than exists in the known universe if it were working in a traditional way. This led the team to look deeper into where that extra computing power was coming from. It is one of the most overlooked aspects of the story, and it is what led to the most controversial statements ever made by a tech leader. So, here is the deal. We have a machine that is faster than time itself, and it is starting to show us things we might not be ready to see. To understand how this works, we have to look at the machines themselves. Computing in many worlds. When the results for Willow were finalized, the leader of Google Quantum AI, Hartmut Neven, had made a statement that shocked the world. He said that the performance of the chip lends weight to the idea that quantum computing actually happens across many parallel universes. This is not just a wild guess. It is based on a theory from the 1950s called the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Basically, the theory says that every time a quantum event happens, the universe splits into different branches. In one branch, the particle goes left. In another branch, it goes right. This happens billions of times a second, creating an infinite number of realities. Neven suggested that a quantum computer like Willow is successful because it is tapping into those other branches. While a normal computer has to try one path at a time, Willow effectively computes across the multiverse simultaneously. When it gives us an answer in 5 minutes, It is because it used the resources of millions of other versions of itself to do the work. This would explain why it can finish a task that should take 10 septillion years. It is not just one computer doing the work. It is an army of computers spread across different dimensions. Many are not seeing the truth here because it sounds too much like a comic book. But for the people building these chips, it is a logical explanation for the data. This would explain why it can finish a task that should take 10 septillion years. It is not just one computer doing the work. It is an army of computers spread across different dimensions. Many are not seeing the truth here because it sounds too much like a comic book. But for the people building these chips, it is a logical explanation for the data. This idea comes from a famous physicist named David Deutsch. He wrote a book called The Fabric of Reality, where he explained that if a quantum computer works, it is the ultimate proof that the multiverse is real. He argued that there is simply no other way to explain where the information goes and how it comes back so fast. If you do a calculation that requires more steps than there are atoms in the universe, and you get the right answer, you must have used space that exists outside of our universe. This is a key detail that changes how we view our place in the cosmos. We are not just living in one world, we are part of a massive, branching tree of existence. See, the implications of this are pretty heavy. If our computers are using other universes, does that mean those other universes can use ours? It is not that simple, though. In the many worlds theory, these branches usually do not talk to each other. They are like ghosts to one another. But a quantum computer is a place where those branches are forced to interact. That interaction is called interference. It is how the computer picks the right answer out of all the trillions of wrong ones. But some people worry that if we keep building bigger chips, we might create a permanent bridge between these worlds. There is a lot of people confused about why Google would say this out loud. Usually, big companies stay away from weird science talk. But Neven has always been a bit of a visionary. He has even hinted that human consciousness might work the same way. He thinks our brains might be biological quantum processors that interact with the multiverse to create awareness. This would mean that every choice we make is not just happening here, but is part of a grand calculation happening across infinite realities. It is a lot to take in, and for many, it is too much. This is where the rumors of a shutdown started to gain steam. Everyone is obsessed with the idea that the researchers found something they did not want to share. If you realize that your machine is literally talking to other worlds, you might want to slow down and think about the risks. What if we pull something back from another branch that does not belong here? Or what if we accidentally change the code of our own reality? These are the kinds of questions that keep people up at night. The crazy part is that the data from Willow does not disprove these theories. If anything, the faster and more accurate the chip gets, the more it seems like Neven was right. If these parallel worlds exist, some people think Google saw something inside them. Shutdown theories explained. As 2025 came to a close, the big updates about Willow suddenly stopped. For a project that was supposed to change the world, the silence was deafening. This led to a wave of conspiracy theories and rumors that Google had quietly shut down the most advanced parts of the project. Some people believe that during a high-power test, the Willow chip revealed something that was not just a math answer. There are stories circulating online about the chip producing patterns that looked like a language or a code from an outside source. While there is no proof for this, the mystery has only grown because Google has not said much to debunk it. One of the wildest theories is that the chip proved we are living in a simulation. The idea is that our universe is just a program running on a much larger quantum computer built by a more advanced version of humanity or some other intelligence. In this theory, Willow is like a glitch in the system. By being too fast and too efficient, it exposed the underlying code of our world. If the creators of the simulation saw that we were getting close to the truth, they might have forced a shutdown. It sounds crazy, but when you are dealing with machines that can compute across 10 septillion years, the line between science and fiction gets very thin. Another overlooked aspect is the idea of interdimensional interference. If the multiverse theory is true, then every time we run a quantum computer, we are potentially affecting other realities. Some critics worry that we are borrowing energy or information that does not belong to us. This could create instabilities in the fabric of space. Imagine if every time you used your laptop, it caused a power outage in the house next door. Now imagine that on a cosmic scale. If the researchers saw signs that they were damaging the connection between worlds, they would have every reason to pull the plug immediately. It is not that simple, though, because there are also much more grounded reasons why a project might slow down. Building these machines is incredibly expensive. Each dilution refrigerator costs millions of dollars, and the liquid helium needed to keep them cold is a limited resource. There might also be national security concerns. A quantum computer that can break any encryption would be the most dangerous weapon on Earth. It could unlock bank accounts, military secrets, and private messages in seconds. If the government realized that Willow was getting too close to that level of power, they would step in and classify the project. This is a deal that happens in the shadows all the time. A lot of people are confused about why we would fear such a helpful tool. But think about the balance of power. If one company or one country has the power of the multiverse in a chip, everyone else is at their mercy. It would be like having a nuclear weapon in a world that only has bows and arrows. The ethical weight of Willow is massive. We have to ask ourselves if we are ready for the answers it might give us. If the chip tells us that our universe is just one of many, it changes how we value our lives and our choices. Hands down, the philosophical shift is just as big as the technological one. Whether the shutdown was due to a glitch, a government order, or a discovery that was too scary to share, the legacy of Willow is already set. It proved that the impossible is possible. It showed us that the walls of our reality are thinner than we thought. Even if the project is hidden away now, the cat is out of the bag. We know that we can build these machines, and we know what they are capable of. The question now is not if we will go back to that power, but when. And when we do, we might find that the door we opened cannot be closed again. Whether we like it or not, the world is about to change forever. Final reality check. So, where does this leave us today? The story of Google's Willow chip is a mix of incredible science and deep mystery. We know for a fact that it hit the 105 qubit mark and proved that error correction works. That alone is enough to put it in the history books. It showed that quantum computers can scale up and become more reliable, which was the final hurdle for the technology. This means that in the next few years we will likely see more chips like it from other companies. The race to 1,000,000 qubits is on, and the finish line is a world where no problem is too big to solve. But we also have to deal with the wilder side of the story. The claims about parallel universes and the multiverse are not going away. Even if some scientists think it is just a useful way to think about the math, others are convinced it is the literal truth. We are entering an era where our technology is starting to outpace our philosophy. We are building machines that act like gods, but we are still trying to figure out what it means to be human. If we are just one thread in an infinite tapestry of realities, we have to find a new way to understand our purpose. This is a key detail that will define the next century of human thought. It is important to remember that some of the scarier theories are still speculative. We do not have proof that Google saw entities or that they are hiding a bridge to another dimension. Most likely, the project slowed down because the engineering is just that hard. Dealing with qubits is like trying to balance 1,000 needles on their tips all at once. It takes time, patience, and a lot of trial and error. But the fact that people are so willing to believe the wilder stories shows how much we sense that something big is happening. We know we are on the edge of a new frontier, and frontiers are always a little bit scary. The thing is, we are missing a key detail if we only look at the tech. This is a human story. It is about our drive to understand the universe and our refusal to accept limits. Whether Willow is running in our world or across 1,000 worlds, it was built by people who wanted to see what was behind the curtain. That curiosity is our greatest strength, but it also leads us into places we might not be ready for. As we move into the early 2030s, we will likely see the first truly fault-tolerant quantum computers. When that happens, the world will change in ways we cannot even predict today. What many confirms is that the era of classical computing is reaching its end. We have pushed silicon chips as far as they can go. To keep moving forward, we have to embrace the weirdness of the quantum world. We have to get comfortable with the idea that things can be in two places at once and that our universe might have roommates in other dimensions. It is a lot to ask, but it is the only path left. A lot of people is confused about the future, but the truth is that we are creating it one qubit at a time. The mystery of Willow is just the beginning of a much longer tale. As we look at the stars and the subatomic particles, we realize that they are part of the same grand mystery. Perhaps our universe is just a single calculation in a much larger machine, or perhaps we are the ones who will eventually build that machine. Either way, the journey is just getting started. We have to keep asking questions and keep pushing the boundaries. Because in a multiverse of infinite possibilities, the only thing that is truly impossible is staying still. We are moving toward a future that is brighter, faster, and much stranger than we ever dreamed. If your computer could talk to another version of you in a different universe, would you even want to hear what it has to say? Thanks for watching this deep dive into Google's mystery. If you learned something new about the multiverse, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories that break reality. See you in the next one.